Genesis 50 and verse 1. Wayapol Yosef al Panay Avi Wayavek Alo Wayishak Lo. There's a lot in the last chapter. There's been a lot in the last two chapters of Genesis. If you look at Genesis, it's like a gold mine, and you just open doors in every direction as you go. We see the patriarch. We see Israel dying. Okay? And he fell. Now look at that word Nephal. What word do we have from Nephal in Greek, in Hebrew, what that is? What word? What word? What was the word for the giants? The Nephilim. That's the root, the fallen ones. Okay? The fallen ones. They sure didn't fall short. They fell high, didn't they? So it wasn't talking about the height. It's talking about what they were, the species. And he fell and kept on falling Joseph upon his face. Panay, that means face. His father, and he kept on weeping upon him. And he kept on kissing to him. He kept on kissing to him. Now, Jacob had made them swear to him that they would not leave his body in Egypt, didn't he? What did he say? What did he tell them to do? Take his bones, take his bones. He said, take my bones and bury me in the cave where Abraham and Isaac and Sarah and all of those are there, and Leah. I want you to bury me in that cave in the land of Canaan. Canaan means what? Possession. In the land of our possession, Canaan. Now, we know that he had his staff with him. When Jacob was swearing and blessing his children, and on his dying breaths, he was blessing his children and grandchildren. And according to the book of Jasher, what was that staff? What was that staff? Huh? Adam's staff. The staff that Adam had in the Garden of Eden. It had a jewel in the top of it. I'm going to read you a little bit about that staff from the book of Jasher. The book of Jasher is not an inspired book at all. It's not inspired at all. But it is a history book, and the Jews believe this, and it's quoted 3 times in the Bible, in Joshua 10 and 13, 2 Samuel 1:18, and 2 Timothy 3 and 8. It's quoted, or spoken about. And by the way, all of the sons of Israel were put in coffins. Every one of the patriarchs, all of the fathers of the tribe were put in coffins according to the book of Jasher, and every one of them was carried back into the land of Canaan and buried in the plot of land where they were to possess. And evidently they're still there today. I want to read you a little bit about that in Jasher 90 and verse number 35. It says, and Joshua greatly exhorted the children of Israel to serve the Lord in all their ways. And all the Israelites said that we will serve the Lord our God all our days, and we our children, and our children's children, our seed forever. And Joshua made a covenant with the people on that day, and he sent away the children of Israel, and they went each man to his inheritance to the city. And it was in those days when the children of Israel were dwelling securely in the cities that they buried the coffins of the tribes of their ancestors, which they had brought up from Egypt, each man in the inheritance of his children. The 12 sons of Jacob did the children of Israel bury each man in the possession of his children. All right? Then he goes on and tells every one of them. Now, I'm going to go back here in the 79th chapter of Jasher and read to you just a little bit. In those days, Moses was feeding the flock of Reuel. Who's Reuel? That's his father-in-law. What was his other name? He had about 5 names. What? Jethro. All right, he had quite a few names. He was in different places in the Bible. They call him by different names. Okay? Feeding the flock of Reuel the Midianite, his father-in-law, beyond the wilderness of sin, and the stick which he took from his father-in-law was in his hand. Okay? Now, however, how many of you ever heard of the Excalibur? I believe that's what it's called. Remember the sword that was stuck in the stone? Do you know where that story came from? This story right here. It came from this story. Excalibur story of Excalibur came from Adam's staff story. Okay? Let me go back. A little bit. And when Abraham had given all he had to his son Isaac, he gave to him his stick. And when Jacob, this stick is Adam's rod. That's who it is. Okay, that's what it is. And when Jacob had fled to Paddan, he took into his hand, and when he returned to his father, he left not his stick behind, his staff behind. Also, when he went down into Egypt, he took it into his hand and gave it to Joseph. All right? And one portion above his brethren, for Jacob had taken it by force from his brother Esau. And after the death of Joseph, the nobles of Egypt came into the house of Joseph, and the stick came into the hand of Reuel the Midianite. Okay? And now, by the way, Reuel the Midianite was a counselor to Pharaoh in those days. Reuel, or Jethro, was what? What did the Bible call him? A priest of the Most High God. He was a priest. All right? Came into the hand of Reuel the Midianite, and when he went out of Egypt, he took it in his hand and planted it in his garden. What was the rod made out of? What was it made out of? It had a gemstone in the top of it, but what was it made out of? Almond. It was an almond branch. And all the mighty men of the Kenites tried to pluck it when they endeavored to get Zipporah, his daughter, and they were unsuccessful. See what we talk about, Excalibur? Do you know where some of the stories originated? See? Now, this is a very old book, I'm telling you. It's old. This was one of the books that they copied a lot at the Dead Sea, the Qumran Caves. They found one of the first complete copies at the Dead Sea Scrolls in the ancient languages. Okay? So the stick remained planted in the garden of Reuel until he came who had the right and he took it. And when Reuel saw the stick in the hand of Moses, he wondered at it, and he gave him his daughter Zipporah for a wife. This is reading between the lines, okay? You see it in the Bible, but the book of Jasher, you just kind of read between the lines. All right? And this rod is here, according to the book of Jasher. Who ended up with that rod? Jacob gave the rod to who? He's passing on the rod to who? Joseph. All right, and then after Joseph dies, Reuel, or Jethro, ends up with the rod, according to this book.
Yeah, but there's 400 years there, too.
Yes, that's 400 years. Yeah, 400 years. But that's where it came from. All right? So
Moses' rod is Adam's rod and Jacob's rod.
That's right. They're all, it has great authority with it. Great authority. And when he, now you weren't here with this now, all right? When Aaron threw the rod down in front of Pharaoh, what did it become?
Fire-breathing dragon.
A fire-breathing dragon. That's right. No, a tanin, not a nahash. A tanin, which means dragon. See, I tell you what, the scriptures, the original languages really have a lot to say about things. That's what it is in Greek. What is that? Dragon. Okay. In Latin, that's what it is in Latin. Draca. It is some sort of dragon. It means to puff and to smoke and cause fire, and it means to hiss and squeal and to holler at the same time. A screamer, a howler, to howl. That's what the word tanin means. Tanin. It's not nahash. All right, it's different. All right. And then what did the rods of? And where do we find the names of those children? Not the children, but the rats. Where do we find the name of the rats that actually opposed Moses? Where is that?
Is that Jude?
Huh?
Is it Jude?
No. It's in 2 Timothy. Go to 2 Timothy 3 and 8. 2 Timothy 3. Has anybody got a New Testament? 2 Timothy 3 and 8. We're kind of going back over some things here. 2 Timothy 3 and 8. In Jasher, the 79th chapter, in verse number 27, is where it actually tells you. That's where the Apostle Paul got it. Mike, would you bring that up here? Have you got that open? 2 Timothy 3 and 8.
I'm not going to know those names.
What?
I'm not going to know those names.
Oh, that's all right. I'll help you with those names. All right.
Okay, 2 Timothy 3 and 8. Now, as Jannes
and
Jambres resisted Moses, so do these also resist the truth. Men of corrupt mind, disapproved concerning the faith, but they will progress no further, for their folly will be manifested to all, as theirs also was.
All right. Now, where did Paul get that information? The book of Jasher. All right. In the book of Jasher, 79 and verse 27, and when they had gone, Pharaoh sent for Balaam, the magician, and to Jannes and Jambres his sons, and to all the magicians and the conjurers and counselors who belonged to the king, and they all came and sat before the king. And when they threw their rods down, their symbols of authority down, they weren't turned into crocodiles or dragons also, like a Komodo dragon or something. It also, in the different lexicons, it said it's a devourer, to eat. And of course, and this staff, by the way, according to the book of Jasher, this staff is the staff that God held in his hand when he created the heavens and the earth. Now, just think about this. They knew that back then. They knew this. And this staff that created the heavens and the earth, and he throws it down on the floor of Pharaoh, and it becomes this dragon, powerful dragon. And they throw their symbols of authority, their staffs down there, and I'm going to guarantee you Moses or Aaron's staff or Adam's staff was the oldest staff. With that, the heavens and the earth were created. Maybe even the angels and whatever. But he throws it down, and guess who wins? Guess who wins? It's no surprise. All right? That's just a little bit what's here in this now. Okay? That's just a little bit. Now, also, we talked about this. Some of you haven't been here, but I don't think any on this side of the room were here when I did this. In Pharaoh's throne, how many steps went up to the throne? How many steps went up to Pharaoh's throne? 70 steps. 70 steps. Where do you think that Ruel or Jethro got the idea of the 70 people, that the Sanhedrin? All right? All right? Anyway, there were 70 steps that went up there. And Pharaoh, when he called anyone before him, every step typified a language of all the surrounding nations. Israel, or not Israel, but Egypt would not allow anybody to rule them that didn't know all 70 languages. Okay? This is the Egyptian history. This is history. You can get this from the book of Jasher, and you can get it from Egyptian history. The Pharaoh had to know all 70 languages. And when Joseph had the dream, or interpreted the dreams for Pharaoh, and Pharaoh wanted to make him the number 2 king in the land, actually the one that was he was the administrator of all the land of Egypt, the people said, we won't have a king over us that doesn't know all the languages. And the book of Jasher says that in the night Jehovah came to Joseph and taught him all of the languages. And anybody that went up to the throne of Pharaoh, Pharaoh would descend down to their level of understanding. If they knew 3 languages, he would go down to the 3rd step, he'd stand on the 4th or the 5th step. Joseph, to prove that he was able to rule all the land and understand all the problems of all the people in the lands, he started ascending up every one step at a time, and he had to recite the languages of all of these nations, all the way up to the throne of Pharaoh. Now this is history. All right, this is just plain history. So now this is Joseph, and this is Jacob. Okay? This is what's taken place. This is what Joseph's done, and where we are at this time. 50 and verse 2 now. White saw Yosef et Abadol et Haro Fiim La Shanot et Avi Wayachantu Harofeim et Yisrael. And he intensely commanded Joseph. Look at that third person masculine singular, PL, while consecutive and perfect. He kept on. Intensely commanding Joseph his slaves. Avad. That word is avad. The root of that is avad in 713. Avado. Avado on the end of it means his slaves belonging to him. That's in what to call a case of possession. All right. Elohinu is like the same thing. My God. All right. His slaves, sign of the direct objects, et, and then hara fe'im. The healing ones, the physicians. It means to heal. Masculine plural, cal participle. The healing ones. To embalm and make spicy. What they did was they would try to overcome the odor of decay and rot in the flesh. And so they would spice them up real good. They'd dehydrate them. How many of you ever had any jerky? Anybody around any jerky? They make jerky out of them is what they did. That's it. They made jerky out of them. They did. They made jerky out of these people. And jerky lasts for a long time, doesn't it? How many of you have ever been to my house? Brother Mike has. I didn't take you and show you a little 5-cent tour of the different things I have. In there, in my Indian collection, I have dehydrated turnips. Now, the Indians, they lived on dehydrated turnips. They lived on dehydrated potatoes and chilies. All chili came from this country, by the way, and corn. The corn was dehydrated and ground. Okay? And in some places even In this area right here, they lived on a lot of acorns from the oak trees. They had to leach that out, though, leach all the tannin out of it. Anyway, in there I have these turnips. They used to go and pick turnips, dig turnips. And they would tie them like, how many of you have seen garlic in a big long? That's the garlic deal is how they used to do the turnips. And I have some turnips like that. Very hot, spicy, like horseradish. But they would take these turnips, they would take and they would put other vegetables and whatever they had in, originally before white contact, they'd throw it into a buffalo paunch, and in a buffalo paunch stomach, hanging open with water in it, they'd have jerky, and they would pour water in it, and they would pour hot rocks in there to make it boil. And they'd put turnips to spice it. Different things like that. Well, that's dehydrated food. This has got dehydrated people. All right? These are dehydrated people. And he commanded Joseph, his slaves, the healing ones, to embalm his father. In early America, who were the doctors in America? Early America, the doctors were not really much for doctors. Doctors didn't go to school. They just basically learned from another doctor. If he was good, it's all right. If he wasn't, then that's what you learned. You learned the bad stuff. Who were the doctors? Every village or town had a doctor in it, but he was called the barber. The barbers were the doctors. You went to the doctor, to barber. The barbers would put leeches on you. The barbers would cut your veins, and they all had this Greek idea that you had to get this bad blood out of you. They were killing people is what they were doing a lot of times. Well, here we have the healing ones. The healing ones in early America weren't much for healing ones. I'm going to tell you that right now. They killed old George Washington. He could have lived a lot longer, but they bled him to death when he was sick. If they'd have got him a good Cherokee medicine man, they might have been all right. He might have lived a little longer. And they made him spicy. They embalmed and they dehydrated him, the physicians. Israel. Israel. Remember what Israel means? Israel. Israel. Man who wrestles with God. Okay. Sarah is the root of that too, isn't it? Sarah is the root of that. 50 and verse 3. Wayimlu, lo, Arbaim, Yom, Ki, Can, Yimliu, Yemei, Ha-chan, Nutim. Wayivku, Ota, Mitzrayim, Shivim, Yom. And they kept on fulfilling for him for 40 days. They kept on dehydrating him for 40 days. Arbaim days. And because thus they would continue, or kept on continuing, days, the embalming ones. And they kept on weeping. They kept on weeping for him in Mitzrayim, in Egypt, 70 days. 70 days of mourning. So they embalmed him 40 days, and they were weeping for him 70 days, all the time. And you know those pharaohs that they've got over there right now, they dehydrated them in such a way, and they would put faces on them. They would make a death mask of them, and then they would paint the death mask, and many times have it pure gold or silver or whatever, as you have seen. I had a book in the car that I was going to bring in to show you Tutankhamun's statue or his coffin, and that's what they did with Jacob. They embalmed him, dehydrated him, and put him in this fancy coffin. They may have even put his face on it. I don't know. I didn't get to go in the cave where Jacob was buried, but I've been there. And by the way, who built that area up where the cave of Machpelah is? Who built the great big basilica around it. Come on, Ewans, this morning. Who did it? Herod the Great. What does Herod mean? What does Herod mean? Hero. Well, today, even today, with Israel, Herod is the hero. He's the hero king that built their great temple. And all that stuff, they didn't like it, what he did in some ways. I read a letter that survives to this day about that Herod the Great wrote to Augustus Caesar about what he did with the babies and the little children in Bethlehem. Vayavaru Yameh Bikato Ydabar Yosef El Beth Pero Limor Im Na Matsati Chan B and Nechem Debaru Na Baazane Pharaoh Lemor. And they passed by days. That word passed by there means they rubbed out days. Rubbed out days. How many of you ever rubbed out days? The more days you rub out, the more quicker they go. The faster they get rubbed out, it seems like. Days, and his weeping. And he spoke words, strong words, Joseph. He spoke strong words, Joseph, unto his house, unto his family, the family of Pharaoh, saying, if please, that word na there, that's a particle of entreaty. Okay, that's a particle of entreaty. Did I write that down there? Particle of entreaty? Yes. Is it written down there? Mm-hmm. Okay. Page 609. If I have found grace, that word grace there, that's charis in Greek. If I have found chen or grace in your eyes, and that comes from ayin, which means to see or to watch after. You speak, I beg, in ears of Pharaoh, saying. All right. 50 and verse 5 now. 50 and verse 5. Avi, Hishbiani, Lemor, Hine, Anoke, Meth, Bikivri, Asher, Kadrati, Li, Be'eretz, Canaan, Shema, Tig, Be, Rini, We Ata, Ele, Na, We Egbera, Eth, Avi, We Ashuva. The book of Genesis means what? Beginnings. What is the real Hebrew name for the book of Exodus?
The names.
Huh?
The names.
We hele shemot. We hele shemot. These and these the names. That's how it starts. But the Greeks use it the way out. What is it in Lakota, Dakota? How do you say the way out or Exodus in Lakota? Hatayo. Hatayo, the way out. All right. We're getting closer to Hatayo, the way out. My father, Avi, my father, made me fence myself in. That's what he literally said. He made me fence myself in. Third person masculine singular, Hifel, perfect. He had made me fence myself in, saying, behold, Anoki, I, dying. Masculine singular, cow participle, I dying. You see that? Miot, down at the bottom, that's where it's a three-letter root. 559 and 562. In my grave, which I have dug for myself in land of Canaan. Canaan means what? Possession. There. You shall keep on burying me there. You shall keep me buried there. That's what he literally says. Second person masculine singular, cal imperfect. And that's the word quiver. Quiver. Let's quiver. Say quiver. Quiver in Sheol. All right. Now, we got a big controversy with the Seventh-day Adventurists and with the Russellites. Okay? To the Seventh-day Adventurists and to the Russellites, that's Jehovah's Witnesses and Seventh-day Adventists, okay? Both of them say that the grave and Sheol are the same place. That's not so. Quiver, you dig. Sheol, you don't have anything to do with it. Sheol is a place of departed spirits. That's like Hades. Okay? This word quiver here is a dug grave. You can dig a quiver, but you can't dig a Sheol. Okay? Second person masculine singular, cal imperfect, suffix, first person construct singular. You shall bury me. Okay? And now, we ata, and now, I go up. I go up. Please. Please allow me. That's the word na there. That's that particle of entreaty. How you would translate this in the English is as, if you will allow me, I will go up. And I shall bury, first person construct singular, cal cohortive, and I shall bury my father. See the sign of the direct object there? What is the sign of the direct object in Greek?
Ace.
Ace. Roger, you get an A+.
Thank you.
You're getting these languages down.
You know, I read about Herod, that he restarted the Olympic Games. That's one of the reasons he built that big stadium.
Oh, yes.
And they made him like lifelong Olympic president.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
How many of you ever heard of the Hippodrome? The Hippodrome was a stadium there in Jerusalem, by the way, where they had horse races and chariot races. And that's where they also had the Olympics. He was very, very Roman. Very, very Roman. If you, you go to the website and listen to the class I did this morning on Herod. I talked about Herod and all what he did and his wives and the history of Herod and all of that. He was a master builder. He built that marina down there by Caesarea that was unbelievable. He built the Herodian. He built Masada. These were all palaces, and he built the temple in Jerusalem. He did a lot of building, but he did not believe in God. He was a polytheist. And he was a descendant of who? Esau. All right. All right, now 50 in verse 6. Wyomer. Paro. Ale. Ugivor. Et. Avika. Kaasher. Hishbika. Hishbeika. I should say. And he kept on saying, Pharaoh, go up, go up, go up and bury. See that word quiver is down there, quiver? You kivor, you quivor, you quivor. And bury your father just as, that comes from ki and asher, doesn't it? Just as ka asher, it comes from ki and asher. Just as he made you, or caused you literally, to have sworn. Third person masculine, hithael perfect. The suffix is second person masculine singular. Just like he caused to make you have sworn. That's not really good English, but that's what it literally, how it is translated from Hebrew. All right, now 50 and verse 7. 50 and verse 7. Let me tell you a little bit of history about this now. Who was Jacob's brother? Esau. Now, according to the traditions of the Jews and the Talmud and the book of Jasher, all of these books, when they went down to bury Jacob and they got down to the cave of Machpelah, Esau shows up. And when Isaac died, Jacob and Esau, at his death, divided the land and the money. All right? Isaac was very, very rich. He had lots of jewels and lots of gold and lots of silver and lots of animals. And then he had the deed to the whole land of Canaan. Okay? And to the cave of Machpelah. And according to these traditions and everything like this, are you enjoying this little bit of extra stuff I'm throwing in here? Is this all right? Okay, I don't want to bore you to death with it. But according to these histories, Esau shows up. And he said, you will not bury Jacob here. Because at our father's death, he took all the money and all the gold and all the silver. But what happened, and by the way, they wrote it down. A scribe wrote it all down. Sefer HaYeshur. Sefer, that's the word for scribe right there. A scribe wrote it down. The contract between Jacob and Esau. And Jacob said, I don't want any money or anything. I want the promised land. I want the land. And I want the cave. And he went down there, and they had a war there at the cave of Machpelah. Joseph had a war. Now, by the way, Joseph was a great warrior in Egypt. He led Pharaoh's armies, and he went out and warred. When Jacob was over 100 years old, remember when Levi and Simeon went up there and destroyed the city of Shechem? According to the rabbinical laws and the Talmud and everything, and the book of Jasher, right after they killed all those people in Shechem, 10,000 Canaanites surrounded Jacob's family. And they fought and killed all of those 10,000, and they had the Canaanite wars after that. And Jacob went out and fought. He was a master archer. He could do those Robin Hoods. Dakota, have you got that Robin Hood that I told you to bring tonight? Have you got the Robin Hood bullet? Have you got the bullet in your purse? Look for it real quick. I shoot, and I build guns and work on guns and everything. And you know what a Robin Hood is, don't you? How many of you know what a Robin Hood is? Did you watch TV, in movies? With Errol Flynn, and all that stuff way back then. And they would take and they would shoot this bow. And they would put one arrow would split the other arrow. Have you got it, Dakota? Now, I usually have a better Robin Hood than this. You see that bullet? There it is. What's it got right in the back of it? Another bullet right on top. That was shot out of Audie Murphy's gun. And that was one bullet on top of another. See that? Yeah, I shoot right there. All right. That's one bullet on top of another. That's a Robin Hood. And they said that Jacob was a great archer, a Robin Hood. And that he could put one arrow and split another arrow with it. Just They said that he killed 4 of the kings in these battles. They killed almost 100,000 people in those Canaanite wars. And what did Jacob tell those boys? These people are more than we are. And once they knew they had to fight, they just went from one city to the other and conquered and set siege, and they conquered one city to the other. The last city that they conquered had 3 walls, one inside the other. Now, these are the boys. Now they're going to have a fight on their hands, according to history. Joseph takes Jacob back home. And when he gets back home, he comes up to the cave of Machpelah, And here are all the Esau, all of the Edomites, and all of his buddies. And Esau's there. And he said, you can't have the land. And Joseph said, I have the written document back in Egypt. So he takes, which one of the boys, which one of Jacob's sons ran like a gazelle? Huh? Was it Zebulun? The one that was a gazelle, like the gazelle. All right? The one that was like the gazelle, he sent him back to Egypt and go get the documents. Go get the scribe. All right? Go get the scribe. So he sent him back, and he went back to Egypt. In the meanwhile, they ended up having a battle, and Esau ends up being killed at this time. So this isn't smooth sailing. Not as near as smooth sailing as you're about to read here in the Bible. It just ignores all of that. This gets the job done. But I want to tell you something. The job wasn't quite that easy to finish. They went out there and they stood on the other side of Jordan, and they wept and they wailed, didn't they? All right. Waya'al, Yosef, Likbor, Et, Avihu, Waya'alu, Ito, Kal, Avdi, Pharaoh, Zigne, Bethel, we call Zigne, Eretz, Mitzrayim. And he went up Joseph to bury his father. And they went up with him all his servants. I'm going to tell you what, he took an army with him. I can't remember how many people they said he took. I think it was like 10 or 20,000 people. All right? Because this was going to be a war. He's going through some bad country. Like going through Saigon or something, you know, or not Saigon, but in the middle of the Vietnam War, or going through France when Audie Murphy was fighting through there. This is a war zone, people, a war zone. All right? He went up him with all the servants, Kal Abdi, Pharaoh, and the elders of his house, all of them, the elders, in the land of Mitzrayim. Mitzrayim means what? Hello, Brother Lee. The land of red mud and canal banks. All right, the land of red mud and canal banks. 50 and verse 8. Now there's going to be wars all through here. There's going to be a tremendous amount of war. It doesn't tell us that, but that's what's going on around and during this period of time. When Joseph was in Egypt, he was a warrior king. He did all the battles and all the fighting and all warriors. He had the lead chariot in all the battles. And it said that he went and fought a lot of battles. Okay? So he's a warrior. And here he is, the warrior, goes in to bury his father. And he's going to have a lot of opposition from Esau and his bunch. It doesn't say that here, but that's what Jewish history says, and that's what the book of Jasher says also. We call Beth, Yosef, we Achal, Yuveth, Avi, Rock, Ta Pa'am, Wet Sanah, Uv Koram, Azevu, Be'eretz, Goshen. What's Goshen mean? Brother Mike? Sharon? Who knows that? Goshen.
Like swampland.
It means the land of much rain.
Yeah.
Much rain and produce. The fruitful land, Goshen. Okay? And all the house, Beth, and all the house of Joseph. Joseph means what? Huh? Prosperous increase. Okay? Joseph prospered and he increased and he provided for how many ways, Brother Lee? How many ways was Joseph a type of Christ?
Over 100.
Over 100 ways. He was a type of Christ. Okay, and over 100 ways. Joseph. And his we achal. Weachaw and his brothers. And the house of his father. All of them went down. All these warriors went down. Remember now, we talked before, after Levi and Simeon, by the way, went up to the city of Shechem, and only they two killed everybody in that city. They killed, those two boys killed the whole city, and the rumors went out throughout all the lands of how vicious and how tremendous fighters these were. These boys were like Goliaths. Every one of them were warriors. And Judah was the most powerful warrior of all. Judah was the most powerful warrior of all. They would jump and leap and go over the walls like they were scaling walls when they'd go into these cities when they fought them. Now here we got an army going, taking Jacob home. His house and his father's, only their little ones they left behind. You don't take the little ones in the battle, do you? Now, did you ever think why that they left the little ones back in Egypt? They were going to battle. All right? And their flocks. Of course, they couldn't drive their flocks, could they? They couldn't drive their flocks on a march. In the Spanish army, the Spanish conquistadors, they carried flocks, didn't they? What did they carry? Flocks of what? Hogs. They drove the hogs ahead of them. And they killed hogs as they wanted. And the hogs spread so much disease in America, that's what killed all the Indians, was the hogs, the disease. All right, the disease. Well, they carry some animals with them. And, of course, these people lived a lot on what? Grain and milk products. Grain and milk products. Way yonder over there in the land of Canaan, or Canaan, if you want to say it correctly, what did Abraham feed the angels and Jehovah? What did he feed them? What did they feed them? Remember?
He made a cake, right?
He made bread.
Bread.
And what else? Huh? He killed some young lamb or two, and he roasted them. And what else? It says in King James he gave them curds. That's a milk product. What it was is yogurt gravy. When I was in Damascus, Syria in 1975, I went over there and I stayed in this city in the Oriental Palace Hotel, and I tell you what, it was the biggest dump you ever saw. But the last meal we had was Abraham's meal. That's what they called Abraham's meal. They came out and they gave us bread, and they gave us camel gravy yogurt. And this beef or calf or whatever it was. Now, I'll never forget it. Brother Madden was sitting there, big old Brother Madden, and he was, you know, in the Middle East, when you're in, how about, we were in Syria. You know what Syria is? A place to get killed. That's what Syria is. And we were in this place, and I mean, we had gone out there, and day after day when we were there about 8 days, we were all these tells and ancient sites over there. And every time we'd go by the president's, the courthouse, there was 3 people hanging out there, the same dead 3 people hanging by the neck. Stinking up the place, you know. And they'd take them and throw them in the dumps. But anyway, we're sitting down there, and they bring out this stuff, and when you're over there, you have a stack of plates like this. They feed you one thing on each plate. But this time, when they feed us Abraham's meal, they take, and they only put one plate out there. So they come out there, and they put this bread, this kind of a tortilla-looking thing, and they put the roast calf or whatever's on it, lamb or goat, and they take this gravy and put on top of it. Brother Madden's sitting down there. And we're starving to death, boy. We haven't had anything hardly to eat for all the time we've been there. I ordered a cup of Turkish coffee. And the Turkish coffee says, you know, down Chinese restaurant like Bill Lee's and Bamboo Chopsticks and all that kind of stuff. You can take the little cup like that, it's coffee in it, and you can stand the spoon right up in it, and the spoon will stand up. You will not fall over. Because half of it is solid, full of caffeine. Boy, you take that stuff and you shake all over the place. Anyway, we had that. And they bring this food out, and they put it on the plate like this. And we're sitting there, and Brother Madden says, boy, this looks like it's going to be good to eat. You know, got the meat. And then they pour this gravy on top of it. He said, you ruined the whole thing. And he takes his plate, and he said, puts it on the floor, and he said, kitty, 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 kitty. And I thought, you're going to get us killed. Well, that's what they had. So they had some goats, and they had milk. They would milk the goats, and they would have grain to feed. And they would even feed their animals. They brought horses with them, and they brought camels, maybe even elephants. Who knows? They used elephants a lot back then. It was armor. Elephants were armor. Okay? That's what's going on here. And all the house of Joseph and his brothers, and the house of his father only the little ones, and their flocks, and their herds they left in land of Goshen. That's where they lived, in the land of plenty of rain. 50 and verse 9. Genesis, Bereshith 50 and verse 9. Waya'al, Imo, Gam, Rekev, Gam, Parashim, Wahi, Hamachane, Kaved, Miod. And went up with both him chariots. Why did they take the chariots? This is going to be a war. It's going to be a war. It's going back through the land. Chariots and horsemen. And became the camp heavy exceedingly. Remember I told you he took a big army with him. This is the army. Joseph's going back in the land with an army. Now, according to the book of Jasher, which is compliments of Brother Lee, they had lots of warring in that land. According to the Jewish histories, the same thing. Wayavu, Ad, Garin, Ha'atad, Asher, Be'ever, Ha-Yarden, Wayishpedu, Sham, Mishpet, Gadol, Kavet, Miod, Waya'as, Li-Avi, Evel, Shivoth, Yamim. Now you can read between the lines with history and just figure all of this stuff out. Now as you're reading it, it's like brief. It just gives you a little briefing. All right. And they came unto the threshing floor of the thorns. All right. Ta'ad of the thorns. Which on other side of the Jordan. What does Jordan mean? Jordan. What's Jordan mean? What does Jordan mean? What does Jordan do? Brother Lee, you've been over in the land of Israel, haven't you? All the way up there from above the upper Jordan and the lower Jordan, all the way up from the high mountains, all the way down to the Dead Sea. What does the Jordan do?
Flows.
It descends. All right, it descends. It means descending. That's what Jordan means, descending. Okay? By the way, I've just about followed that whole thing. And they kept on wailing and mourning. Third person masculine plural, cal, wow, consecutive and perfect. There, with mournings. Very great. Gadol. Gadol. Say Gadol. That means very great. We kaved and heavy. Miod exceedingly. And he kept on making for his father a lamentation 7 days, a whole week. 7 means the number of what in the Bible? 7's the number of perfection or completeness. Okay? 50 and verse 11. 50 and verse 11. Wayar, Yoshef, Yoshef. Say Yosef. Now, dwelling ones. All right? Haaretz, Haka, Hak, Ki Naani, Et, Ha'ivel, Bikoran, Ha'atad, Wayomeru, Enel, Evel that is, Evel, Kavod, Zeh, Li Mitraim, All Can, Kara, Shema, Avel, Mitraim, Asher, Be'ever, Hayarden. Remember a while ago I told you that how many steps go up to the throne of Pharaoh? 70 steps. And who that Joseph had to recite those languages all the way up there to be the ruler over Egypt. And when he did that, they accepted him. Okay? The night that Jehovah was supposed to have spoken to him, he changed Joseph's name. And he put a Hath in his name. Jehoshaphat. When God changed Abraham's name, what did he put in his name? A what?
H.
A He or an H. When he changed Sarah's name, what did he put in her name?
H.
H. Now, if according to the book of Jasher and the Hebrews, when he changed Joseph's name, Jehoshaphat, what did he put in his name? A He. What letter of the Hebrew alphabet is that?
5.
Aleph, Beth, Gamel, Daleth, He. 5. Number 5. 5 is the number what in the Bible? 5 is the number of grace, salvation, grace in the Bible. Let's think about that. And Saul, third person masculine singular, Calwell, consecutive and perfect, and saw and kept on seeing the ones dwelling, the inhabitants, the dwellers of the land of the Canaanites. Canaanite means what? Canaan? Comes from a man's name. What man's name did it come from? Cain. All right? It means the possession. And the lamentation in the threshing floor of the thorns. And they kept on saying, mourning heavy, this. In Egypt, or to Egypt, literally, Metzraim. Therefore, one called, or the place called, having been called, the one or the place having been called, its name or its place, Shema, Abel, Mitzrayim. Abel means the mourning of Israel, or Egypt, that is. Which, on the other side of the Jordan. Jordan means what? Descending. All right. See, if I ask you these questions enough, you're going to learn it. 50 and verse 12. We're getting toward the end. Has this been a good class? Did you like this class? A lot of history in it. It's going to be this way from it till the end of the book. Okay? I might even introduce you to Exodus next week for just a little bit, if we don't get there. It's only 20 verses. Well, more than 20 what? 26 verses, so we're not going to make it. Wayasu. Vano, lo, can, ka'asher, siwuwan. Boy, that's a weird looking. Look at that. Siwan. And he kept on doing his sons to him thus, or in this manner, as he had intensely commanded them. Intensely commanded them. It is a third person masculine plural suffix with a third person masculine singular verb. Third person masculine singular PL perfect. 50 and verse 13. Now we come to the very famous cave of Machpelah. What does Machpelah mean? Machpelah. What does it mean? Machpelah. Machpelah. It means double-mouthed. Double-mouthed. Okay? Why Yesu Vana Otto Otto Vana, that is Atsa Kinan Wayik Beri Hotal Bemarat Sideh Ha Machpelah Asher Kana Abraham et Hasiadah Li Atchizoth Quiver Meeth Ephron Hahiti Alpanay Mamre. And they kept on carrying him, his sons, in the land of Canaan. They kept on carrying him, his sons, in the land of Canaan. Now, according to the book of Jasher and the traditions of the Jews, Joseph didn't carry his father. He was the only one that didn't carry him. He wasn't the one. He was the only one that didn't carry his father. Because why? He was the king. He was the king. All right. He was a king, and he would lead out ahead, and they would follow him because he was the war king. Okay, making sure everything's safe in front of them. So he'd go out in front of them as they carried him. And they kept on burying him in the cave in the field of Machpelah, the double mouth, which he had bought Abraham the field. For a possession of burial, quiver. Quiver is what again? Quiver is a grave, a cave, or something you can dig. Sheol is what? The place of departed spirits. The Seventh-day Adventists and the Millennial Dawnist and the Jehovah's Witnesses, when they say that the grave and hell are the same thing, they are not right. You don't dig a Sheol. You dig a quiver. Sheol is the place of departed spirits. Quiver is the place of departed bodies. Dehydrated, jerky bodies. Okay? That's what basically they did to them. For a possession of a burial from Ephraim, the Hittite, unto the face of Mamre. The face of Mamre. Or in front of Mamre. 50 and verse 14. I think we'll quit here tonight after this verse, because we get into a different thing. Now remember what's going on around here. What's going on here while this is all going on. When they come to the cave of Machpelah, according to Jasher and the Hebrew histories, what happened there? War. A giant war. Esau says, I took the land, and Jacob took the riches. For the truth was that Esau took the riches, and Jacob took the land. All right? Because he believed in the eternal things. Jacob never got to all the land, did he? Never got all the land. Matter of fact, he even moved out of the land, but he said, you go down there for 400 years, and I'm going to bring them back. And I'm coming back. All right. Waya Shav, Yosef, Mitzrayimah, Hugh, Weachu, we call Ha-Olim, Ito, Likbor, Eth, Avi, Achari, Kavero, Et, Aviu. And he returned Joseph to Mitzrayim, not after a whole lot of warring, though, did he? A lot of warring. He took his army down there and they had to clean house. By the way, every time, what happened in the land of Canaan before Jacob left, he cleaned house. Now they come back and they clean house again in the land. All right? And then they go back. And then when Israel goes back the last time, they clean house again, don't they? All right. To Mitzrayim, the land of red mud and bulwarks. Egyptos is the Greek word for this, isn't it? Egyptos. Mesraim is the transliteration of it into Greek from Hebrew. And he and his brothers and all the ones going up with him to bury, and that's the word likbor. That comes from quiver in that. See the word quiver there, 868 and 1064. That's the root. His father, after his burying his father. All right, after he's burying his father. So we went to 50 and verse 1 through 14. Do you have any questions? Did you learn something tonight? Well, last week was just about this big too. Who was here last week? All right, we've got a lot of people. Everybody's going on places. But last week we covered 24 verses, I think, didn't we? Something like that, 24 verses. And I mean, it was full like 70-something minutes, almost 80 minutes last week. But we got to the 49th chapter. Now we're in the 50th chapter, and we've covered 14 verses, and with a tremendous amount of information. A lot of information. All right. No more questions? Yes. Okay, go ahead, Sharon.
In 49:31, so they buried Abraham, his wife Sarah, Isaac, Rebekah, and Leah. If you go back to
31?
49:31.
Yeah.
When I can't remember when Benjamin was born, she
Yes.
stay buried for
Rachel died. Rachel was buried in a different place. But she wasn't buried very far from there. Not very far.
Okay, that's
Rachel is not there. Leah is in that tomb. I have been in the cave of Machpelah. Herod the Great built a basilica or a palace over it, or a church, or synagogue. And here is a cave down below. It comes into a draw here. And up on the hill up here, you go down in this cave like this. And up on the hill here is built this great big building. And down here in the cave, there are niches in the cave where they buried all the patriarchs and their wives. Right up above in the building, you go in here, and there is a coffin, a golden coffin above every grave that's down below. I've been here. Okay, like this. I've been here with guns held on me. And I have got some pictures of it. Of that. And how many of you have seen those pictures? Nobody here has seen those pictures? Dakota, you've seen those pictures. Because I showed them in the Sunday school class. I will maybe bring them and show them also. Anyway, right above is where the patriarchs are buried, and there's Leah's and Isaac's tomb there, and all of the, everybody else. Yes, brother.
This morning you said that John the Baptist was predestined before he left the womb.
That's right.
To be saved.
He was literally born saved. That's unusual.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're not predestined.
No,
Okay.
not like
No,
that.
I
We're predestined in salvation. If you're going to get saved, there's only one way.
Right.
But John the Baptist was a special case. He was born in the spirit of Elijah to be the forerunner of Christ. And Jesus is first cousin. That's who he was. All right, we got a little bit of that today.
But he also, in a way, declared the Lord from the womb of Elizabeth.
That's right.
I mean,
He actually was
He didn't
shouting in
cover
the womb.
it, yeah.
He was shouting in the womb.
Yeah.
Yeah. When he heard the story that Jesus was, was conceived, that they shouted in the womb, this is why this is the destiny. This is my destiny. You know, I'm ready to go preach right now. All right. Anything else? This is a good question. All right. Yes, Sharon.
You said that you came across some writings or some letters of Herod that describe
Yes.
what he did in Bethlehem.
Yes.
The slaughter of the innocents.
It's in the Arco volume. Yeah. I read that in the class this morning.
Oh, well, see,
I read
see it.
Herod's life. See, there you should be in the class in the morning too. Well, you've got to figure out which is one is more important. Anyway, I read that letter this morning. I had never read it in a class ever before, Herod's letter. I read his complete letter and what he thought about Israel and all the different ones and the different groups in there and everything else. It's on the website already. You can watch it on video. It is 320. Bible Page is 320. I even have some with me, some of the CDs. Anyway, did you like that? You were here, and you guys enjoyed that. Anyway, there's a lot of history. All right, anything else? No, Brother Lee, you got anything to say? Would you come up here and lead us in prayer, brother? Turn us loose on the world so we can go out and do something eternal.
Let's pray. Father God, Lord, we thank you, Father, for all these things, Lord, that you have set before us. Father, we pray, God, that we will glorify you in this week to come, Lord. We pray that your hand will be upon us, protecting us and guiding us, Father, as we serve you. In Jesus' holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen. And that word came from many languages, didn't it? Where did all men come from? What language? Where did all men come from? What language? What language did all men come from?
Persian.
Persian. Where did he go from there? Baker.